Monster Mush. It's a graveyard smash, the Monster Mush. Hello everybody, this is Toadboy MTG, and I am back with another deck tech for Pioneer, and this is Monster Mash, which is just my name for the deck. It's a very popular archetype and alone. This is just a graveyard deck that plans to recur a whole bunch of small creatures out of its graveyard, and to have just a massive board of small creatures, or small to medium-sized creatures, and mess up our opponents. Starting it all off, we have a Bloodsoaked Champion, a 1-mana 2/1 that can't block, but you can pay 2 and return it from your graveyard to the battlefield if you have attacked this turn. It's a good card. It comes back from your graveyard. If we're going to be milling ourselves, we might as well get some free value out of it. One of the best cards, if not the best card in the deck, is Stitcher Supplier. 1-mana 1/1 enters the battlefield or dies. Put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Definitely powerful. If you can turn 1 this, it's actually possible to have like what, 1, 2, I think it's like 8 power, or you can have 8 power on the board turn 1. So Stitcher Supplier, Fiend Artisan with a new card from Ikoria, 2 mana. It's a 1/1, but it gets +1/+1 for each creature card in our graveyard, which about half of our deck is creatures, and we play some really good self-mill, so we should be able to make him very big, maybe even a 6/6, 7/7 for 2 mana. And for X and a black or a green, he can tap and sacrifice another creature, like our Stitcher Supplier, to get more value. And search our library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less and put it into the battlefield, then shuffle our library. Activate this ability only time you cast a sorcery. What's amazing about this is it scales with the game. If it's turn 7, you can get like anything you want, basically, because you're going to have enough mana to go grab anything you want out of your deck. So it's a pretty powerful card. The best part is he can actually search himself up. So you can go ahead, you can sacrifice Stitcher Supplier, pay 3 mana, go find another Fiend Artisan. Stitcher Supplier milled you, so now he's bigger, and the other one's bigger. So there's so much value right there. Narcomoeba, so whenever it's put into our graveyard from our library, we may put it onto the battlefield. Free value for self-milling, and there's a reason why we care about that, and you'll see that in a minute. 4 Satyr Wayfinder, 2 mana 1/1, and it mills us, and we grab a land card from among them into our hand. We only play 20 lands, so there's chances that we are going to get mana screwed. We might want to go up lands if that is the case, but for right now, I think 20 lands should be fine. As long as you can get to your turn 2, play a Satyr Wayfinder, try to find another land, you should be okay. 4 Prized Amalgams or Amalgams. So 3 mana for a 3/3, but if it's in your graveyard and another creature enters the battlefield from your graveyard, you may return Prized Amalgam from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped at the beginning of the next end step. So if you mill yourself turn 1 with a Stitcher Supplier, you hit a single Narcomoeba and 2 Prized Amalgams, you will get all of this. You will get a total of 7 power plus your Stitcher Supplier, which is 8. That's 8 power turn 1 on the battlefield. It's not very likely that it will ever happen, but when it does happen, you'll shit bricks. 2 Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. The only thing I can say about this card is this was a mistake to print. Like, oh my god, this card's powerful as heck. It isn't actually that broken in our deck, but the fact that it does come back and it gives us a little bit of life gain and card draw, it's worth it as a 2 of. Basically, if you can play this card in your deck, you probably should be. That's just kind of how Pioneer is right now. I think you already heard about this card. Sidisi, Brood Tyrant, 4 mana 3/3. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. And then whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, put a 2/2 Black Zombie creature token out of the battlefield. Another payoff from self-mill. Note that it isn't for each creature card that's when it's milled, so you could like mill 10 of them at one time and only get 1 2/2 zombie, but if you mill 10 times and hit 10 creatures each time, you'll get 10 2/2 zombies. I think they nerfed this card a little too hard. They should have let this card get a little bit more OP. Moving into our spells, which this card is insane. Call of the Death Dweller, 3 mana. Sorcery, return up to 2 target creature cards with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And put a death touch counter on either of them, and then a menace counter on either of them. Wow. So this can grab a Fiend Artisan and a Stitcher Supplier, a Fiend Artisan or a Bloodsoaked, a Narcomoeba, or no matter what, you're going to get a lot of value out of this. Plus, this is returning it from the graveyard to the battlefield, meaning it will trigger your Prized Amalgam as free value. Or you can just hit your Uro. Even though it won't stay on the battlefield, you'll get that card draw and gain 3 life. It's a way to cycle the card if that's all you can do at the moment, which options are a big thing in Magic the Gathering. So there's Claim to Fame. This card's amazing. For 1 mana, you can return a creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then for aftermathing it, even though this is red, so you have to actually have a way to make red to be able to play this. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. That's pretty good. You can play the Fame part out of your graveyard, so you can out of nowhere drop a Fiend Artisan, Fame it, make it really hasty and big, swing at your opponent out of nowhere. Pretty powerful card, but we're mostly playing it for its claim half. We can claim grabbing a Fiend Artisan. If you haven't noticed, Fiend Artisan is the best card in the deck. Right next to Stitcher Supplier, they're kind of like a combo. You can return it, and then boom, you paid 1 mana for a 2-drop that is on curve of like a 5-drop. Then we got Driven to Despair. So for the green part, you can, until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Fiend Artisan gets huge. Giving it a way to have trample is amazing, and having that extra card draw is also pretty powerful. The Despair side says until end of turn, creatures you control gain menace, and whenever this creature does combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. We will be going very wide, especially powerful with the fact that Narcomoeba has flying, so sometimes you just get a whole bunch of Narcomoebas out and your opponent can't do anything about it. You'll Driven to Despair, they'll discard like 2 cards, you'll draw 2 cards, and by then they're just kind of out of the game unless they can do something. It's just a very powerful card. Usually this will end up getting milled into your graveyard, so you'll only be able to cast the Despair part, but that's okay because paying 2 mana to have them discard cards for free just out of your graveyard and giving your creatures menace is a very powerful card. The fact that this card is less than $1 a piece is very, very underwhelming to me. Breaking and Entering. This is kind of like a spice card I play as a 4-of. So you target yourself. You will mill 8 cards. And then, because our deck's like half creatures, either it'll be nothing that matters. Like, won't even be a Narcomoeba or Prized Amalgam or something. But the good thing is, not only does it give us fodder for bringing stuff back, Fiend Artisan will get way bigger, so it's just a pump spell for Fiend Artisan at the least. But the fact is almost every single card in the deck has some synergy with the graveyard. Even throwing an arrow in late game and then being able to bring him back for the escape cost, which we can hit very easy as long as we can get our 4 mana. It seems pretty powerful to me. I really like that synergy. The entering half, so you need red for this as well. We do have a way to make red. We have about 4 red sources in our mana base. We aren't dependent on red though. This is put a creature card from your graveyard under the battlefield under your control. From a graveyard, not even your own graveyard. It gains haste until end of turn. You won't usually hit the entering part, but if you do, sometimes you might just want to break it anyways, but to be able to play entering, let's say they have like a freaking Galta in the graveyard, sometimes you'll just say, okay, I take your Galta out of your graveyard, smack you in the face with a 12/12 Trampler, GG. On top of that, we have Blood Crypts. So Blood Crypt is one of our red sources. It's black or red. We need a lot of black, green, and blue mostly. Place it at Blooming Marsh. Fast land doesn't hurt you very much. Breeding Pool. So this one doesn't have any black, which can be a problem because we do need a lot of black in the deck, of what seems like it. But the fact is, Fiend Artisan can also be paid with green. So the only cards we actually really need black for, we don't actually ever need double black. So the only time we ever need black is for the Bloodsoaks, the Stitchers, the Prized Amalgams, and then our recursion spells mostly. A single forest, because we want basics in the deck, so if in case they make us have to search up a basic, we can be able to play it. 3 Mana Confluence. This is another way we can make red, but it also makes sure that we can pay our other colors because we are mostly in Sultai. 4 Overgrown Tombs, black or green, Shockland. A Swamp, and 2 Watery Grave. This might not be the best mana base. I am not the best at creating mana bases, but this seems like a fair one to use in my opinion. If you have any suggestions for that, go ahead and leave it in the comments down below. This sideboard isn't really a sideboard, it's just some notable cards. For one, we're in black, so we get Thoughtseize. There's also another blue card we could play, which is Stubborn Denial. It works pretty well with Fiend Artisan, since Fiend Artisan can get pretty big. Basically, we might need some more interaction. That might be where this deck falls short. We really do not want our opponent playing any graveyard hate on us. I think the worst card to be hated on with is a Leyline of the Void, because we can't do anything about it, and we can't get any value early game. If we're going up against something like a Rest in Peace, we'll have enough time to be like, oh, it's turn 2, I already got a little value out, I have a board now, perhaps I'll be able to win the game. But we need a way to interact with Graveyard Hate. Other than that, our deck is pretty darn powerful. A Golgari Charm, or Golgari Charms, this is a good card in the sideboard. All creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. That's good against tokens. That also kills our Stitcher Supplier, which means we'll get the value from that. We can destroy target enchantment, like Leylines of the Void, like Rest in Pieces, or we can regenerate each creature we control. This is good to bring in. This is actually really good against against Azorius control. Not only will they be bringing in their graveyard hate, but they also have board wipes. So this card can either counter a board wipe, or it'll be able to destroy their graveyard hate, which both of those are very powerful options to have on hand. Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise. This basically, these are a stand-in for every single delve card that is good. So we do throw a lot of cards in our graveyard. Breaking alone will be throwing 9 cards into our graveyard, because breaking goes into our graveyard as well. So it isn't that hard to delve that very powerfully. I just don't know which delve cards we'd want. There is Gurmag Angler, and there's a whole bunch of other delve cards. I think I'll make a delve deck after this. But basically, delve should find a home here. I just don't know where, because the issue with the deck is it is very, very, very creature heavy, and you don't want to take your creatures out of the graveyard, because the whole point of the deck is to be able to play the creatures out of your graveyard no matter what. So it's pretty alright. Treasure Cruise, same thing. So it's just, that's draw 3, but it costs less. Wait, do these cost the same amount? I think they do, yeah. They cost the same amount, basically. This one looks at the top 7, though, and you may put 2 of them in your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. It's insane that they printed both of these cards. They're very similar. Like, they both basically draw you. Well, this one only draws you 2, but it goes 7 deep. This one just draws us 3. But I think drawing 2 and being able to look at the top 7, like two actually good cards, is probably better than just 3 random cards. But at the same time, the fact that you can play Treasure Cruise for only 1 blue mana, while you have to have 2 blue for Dig Through Time, it's a wishy-washy situation, but they're still both very, very powerful cards. If you have any additions you would think that would go in this deck very well, go ahead and leave them down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.